David.
Thanks, man. Thank you. All right, am I on? You guys can hear me? All right, awesome. Well, I'm gonna try to make this a little interactive as I can in a group this size. Also not gonna make this all about a pitch of Adthena. I wanna show you guys, we have a lot of different clients, and I've been at Adthena for about 5 years. And so just have a lot of experience working with a lot of different verticals. And so that's gonna be my perspective today. Not to completely just sell you guys on what we do, but to say, hey, at this conference, what can we learn from each other? And that's my goal for today. And we're going to do it by talking about the top search trends in 2022. Cool. A little bit about me really quickly. My marketing team didn't ask me if I wanted to update this. I have a son now also. He's 11 weeks old. There's my daughter. I went to Ohio State, live in Austin. Big Delta fan. Any other Delta fans in the house? Had to fly Southwest here, though, so a little disappointed, but it's okay. I'll give it a break, but also love to play golf as well. I'm not that good at golf. I'm just good at posing when I know someone's behind me taking a picture. So cool. Adthena, really quick, what are we? We're a search intelligence software. We show what's happening in the marketing landscape across Google and Bing, telling you what your competitors are doing, telling you where you're appearing, which is becoming harder to do with Google, helping you understand your performance and what your competitors are doing to affect your performance. So that's where we're coming from. We work with mostly mid-market, a lot of enterprise companies, and here are a few of them. A few of them actually are even here this week, which is really exciting. Cool, top 4 trends. I'll run through them. First one, requests for local data. I did a 2021 recap at the last one. This one was on there. It's continuing to steadily increase. People want to use search data to understand what's happening locally. The second thing, mid-market automation adoption. I know some people have talked about it this week. Paige talked about it. Mid-market automation adoption, big time. Enterprise automation pushback. We talked about it for about 5 minutes in our group at the end in the roundtable. Enterprises are pushing back more on things like Performance Max. I'll talk about that for a minute. And then executive use of search data is increasing, it's continuing to increase. How can we use search data to help us better strategize as an organization? Cool, first one, requests for local data. What regions are you performing well? What regions are you not performing well? Search is a great barometer for consumer intent. I'll get more to that in a second. But looking at things, we provide this, other people provide this, looking at your campaigns, where are we performing well? Where do we need help outside of search, from TV, from YouTube, from display, to help us convert at a higher rate? And one of the best ways to do that is to get data and look at what's happening in each location here. We call this spend efficiency. What are we spending compared to our clicks in the market? So you can see, like in New Jersey, for example, our clicks are a lot higher than how much we're spending compared to the market. We're doing really well. Whereas at the bottom, Rhode Island, we're spending more than the amount of clicks we're getting. And so we're actually not performing as well. And that's compared to the market again. So it's not just are we improving, it's how are we doing compared to others. Another example, making sure that we're looking at things not just nationally, but locally, especially if we have a local presence. US view, if you look on the left in paid mobile, Lemonade entering auto insurance in Chicago. We look in the US, that's great. I don't even see Lemonade. You look in Chicago, they're clearly testing something. But whether you're in the auto insurance industry or another one, what if you have stores in Chicago and they're not seeing as much traffic, right? It could be because Lemonade is increasing their spend on search, their SEO is improving. Looking at the local level to help answer some information about what's happening is super important, especially as we get more towards automation, where Google doesn't give you this information. You got to find it somewhere else. Second thing, mid-market automation adoption. So I'm surprised only one person has gotten up here and really talked a little bit about Performance Max. It's coming. We are a UK-based company. In June in the UK, it's going to be the default. So I know it's going to be a little bit later in the US. So we have a ton of clients in Europe who are already running Performance Max or have completely pushed it aside and said, we're never going to run Performance Max. People have more made their decision over there. And it's just really intriguing to me. So if you don't know what it is, I'm sure you do. It helps you automate what you're doing across YouTube, display, search, discover, Gmail, and Maps. And it helps you do all those things. Google essentially decides where they're placing your ads in order to optimize performance. In the mid-market space, we're seeing greater adoption. In the SMB, it's almost going to be completely across the board because they're resource poor, they don't have a search person, they don't have a YouTube person. It's going to be a lot easier to manage campaigns that way. In the mid-market, we're also seeing a little bit more adoption, tend to be a little bit more resource poor, trying to grow at a rapid rate. We're seeing some of that adoption. As Performance Max gets adopted, there's two things I want to encourage the teams to do that we're doing, and we're telling our teams to do that we work with. The first one, you have to crush your content. Actually, Dave at Havas talked a lot about that earlier. I don't even know where you are, but he talked about that a lot earlier. If Google's controlling what keywords you're on, your content that you provide to them or on your site needs to be elite. You need to be separating yourself from your competitors or separating yourself to make sure that consumers know exactly what it is they're getting into if they click on you in paid search and get to you. So making sure that you do that. This is something from us, seeing what all your competitors are saying. We can help you understand what's actually working that competitors are, what we're seeing in their ads. The second thing is to know the why. We actually had a presentation to our team. We have clients present to our team so we can learn. The question that they asked Google was, why can't we hit our impression share goal? The Google rep's response was, spend more and increase your max CPCs. Of course that's their response, right? That's how they make money as a salesperson. Adthena would say, it depends, right? It depends on, did a competitor come in just for a short-term little thing? Are they going to be gone? Is it something that happened in the market? Is it the search volume actually has decreased in that? Or the search volume maybe increased, and we don't have the budget to support getting the number of impressions that we previously wanted. That's something that's really important. So if you're going to go to automation, make sure that you have the data in place to understand why things are happening. So if you have 60% increase, that's great, but what happens when you don't? What happens when it decreases? How are you supposed to tell finance it's Google's fault that your campaigns actually dropped? I'm pretty confident that's not going to be a good answer to the finance team. So that's something that we encourage our clients to do. Enterprise automation pushback. I actually was going to ask a question here, and I just went forward. We just passed 100,000 searches per second on Google. That's a lot. 100,000 searches per second on Google. It's absolutely insane. Google is still the best barometer for consumer intent. So you can see here the number of internet users in the world. People are searching on their phones, obviously. It's the best barometer for consumer intent. Enterprises are apprehensive to give up all of that data. Like, what keywords are we on? What messaging do our competitors have? Things like that. There's a lot of pushback on it. There's also a lot of legal pushback, right? Should Google control what we say to our consumers? The other thing is time of day. As a quick case study, Chipotle was trying to figure out, how do we work with our partners at DoorDash and others? Lunchtime, dinner, what's more important? They found out lunchtime was more important. I don't know if you maybe would have guessed that, because lunchtime, historically, when people are in the office, a lot more catering, right? So that's going to be a bigger deal for them because they're going to have a lot larger sales. So if you go complete to automation, you're not going to be able to understand what time of day necessarily is it that you're converting, what's the most important. They've now leaned a lot into their catering business, right? Because they understand that information. So it's really, really important. This is one of the reasons that they're pushing back, not them specifically, but that enterprises are. The second thing, losing keywords. A lot of people don't want to lose keywords. Some people do. That's great. That's awesome. Some people don't. If you look over here, if you're NerdWallet, you saw a decrease in your clicks, you might not actually even know why, right? With something like Adthena, obviously you can see, okay, it was SoFi. SoFi entered the market to bottom of the funnel terms. So that's maybe why we weren't converting as quickly or as well, right? What actually happened in the market? Why did it happen? Getting an understanding of what is going on in the space. So that's a big reason enterprises are pushing back. Some of our clients who are enterprises are going into it because they do feel like they have the data to now back up the why, what's happening, but they're apprehensive to give Google the control. Last thing, and I'll be out of your hair so you can go drink a beer on a boat, is executive use of search data. So one of the things that we've really leaned heavily into at Adthena is search volume data. Using search volume data as a barometer for brand recognition and brand uplift. I know we talked a lot about that actually at our roundtable and one of the ones yesterday. Being able to forecast demand, we do this a lot in the auto space, for example. It's a great place to do that because when someone searches for a car, there's a lead time for them to actually buy a car. They're not buying it today, whereas if you're buying a pencil, obviously, it's very different. The third thing is just understanding consumer sentiment. What are they searching? Are consumers searching now more for pea protein, or are they searching more for whey protein? And how is that changing over time? By looking at search volumes, we can understand that. The other thing is with brands. So what is our brand presence compared to others in different markets? And working with our executive team, or our executive teams using that data to say, where should we invest dollars offline to increase our brand awareness, especially as it relates to competitors? So this is an example with Schwab. So Schwab's doing really well in Seattle. Comparatively, Boston seems to be an area where maybe they can lean in a little bit, right? Their brand isn't as heavy there. People are searching other brands. Here are the brands that we actually compared it to, et cetera. Or using even you can use Google for, you can use us for this. You can use trends data for this, right? To say, what were these spikes? Like, what happened on these spikes for TIAA, that's for Fidelity, for example. What happened? What did we do to increase those spikes? Looking back at the sales to say, did sales happen following that spike in search volume on our brand? Uncovering that information to say, yep, that top of the funnel traffic, or having our name on a stadium on the day of the NBA Finals, like one of our clients does, that actually drove more traffic to our website, obviously, and it increased the amount people were searching for us. A couple quick things about how people are using search data, and then I'll be finished. Qualtrics. Qualtrics is a big partner of ours. They want to understand, measure ad blitz impact. If someone spends a lot of money in a specific location, they actually are a survey data company, right? Tends to be 3 to 6 months delayed. They use Adthena data for more real-time data to understand what was the impact of that ad blitz. And they actually are a partner of ours, and it's integrated into their system to help understand what's happening there. The other one is Samsung. So market spend planning. So like I just mentioned, if Samsung is going up against Apple really heavily, or LG, what's happening in LA, right? So in LA, for example, maybe their brand is lower. It helps them plan out how much they're going to spend offline in different locations, and use that data to understand, hey, was there an uplift as well when we spent more money in those locations? Were we able to get more brand affinity? Were people searching us more than they were searching Apple? Were we top of mind? The last thing, getting down to the bottom of it, do we actually get clicks, right? Do we actually get clicks in those locations? A lot of executives are wanting to know at a state-by-state or city-by-city or DMA level, and they obviously can do that with us. You can do that within your campaigns, sharing that data with executives. And so that's kind of where I'll leave you with, is in search, let's be super careful as we get to automation. Automation's good. We love it at Adthena. It's important. But don't give up all the control, and don't give up all the data. Because if you give up the data as a search marketer, you're losing some of your value in an organization. You have great data to share with executives, to be in important meetings. So don't give up the data by going completely automated and not having a backup plan for where you're going to get that data. And that's where I'll leave you with. Thank you guys so much.